List time.
List time.
List
I
time,
gotta
baby.
pull the phone out.
Oh, okay, let's do it. Oh, let's pull out that phone, baby. Whip it out.
Okay, so a couple things here.
Yeah. Okay,
One.
by the way, we're doing our top 5 trilogies.
Top 5 trilogies. We never even told you what it was last week, and we're gonna not do that again. Hopefully we can figure out something.
Yeah.
That's gonna be your turn, by the way. So you
Yes.
you think about it on your downtime.
Yes.
So for this list, it's going to look very similar between the two of us. I feel like our lists are going to be almost identical.
They could be.
I think it'll be like the same stuff on the list, but it's going to be in different order, for sure. And of course, I do mine a specific way every time. I went through every single movie, and I'm like, well, this movie gets this score, this movie gets this score, and this one gets this score. And then I add all three of them together, and I based it completely off of what the score is all together, which in turn has made this list super weird.
Okay.
I would have never thought that some of these movies would be so low, or some of these trilogies would be so low because of other movies. But I'm sticking to my guns, and this is the way I'm doing it.
Okay. The way I did it is just... I mean, here are my caveats, basically, with these trailers, is because... Or with these trilogies... trailers.
We're still on trailer.
With these trilogies, is basically like... Even some of these trilogies... Motherfucker, dude!
Don't you dare get rid of it.
I won't. I've actually not had a lot of time to edit most of these because I've been working on other films, so a lot of these have actually kind of gone unedited recently.
Oh, lovely.
But anyway, something like... I don't want to spoil some of my list, but like there are certain films out there, like Harry Potter, for example. That's a whole saga. You cannot just watch it as a trilogy. But there are other sagas that you can watch as a trilogy. You know what I mean?
I'm adding sagas to the list of potential stuff.
There you go. But, like, you can't count Harry Potter as a trilogy because there's more than 3 films. However, there are sagas with more than 3 films, but the first 3 can be viewed as a trilogy. I know that's confusing to people to, like, hear, but that was kind of my thing is, like, first of all, the quality had to be there for all 3 films. Even if there was a couple dips, the quality still had to be there.
Okay, so you're looking for consistency, which is pretty much why mine is like this.
Yeah, so there are some dips in some of these, but overall, I still feel like the quality was maintained throughout the start to the finish of the series. And again, like I said, even some of these have a 4th one, but you can honestly watch the trilogy and then forget about the 4th one. You're like, okay, the 4th one...
Or it started off as a trilogy, then they waited like 20 years to add one more. And that doesn't work. That doesn't really change... The narrative for it. It's still going to be a trilogy to me.
Yeah, there are sagas that started as trilogies. Something like Harry Potter
It was intended to be a trilogy.
Exactly. It was intended to be a trilogy. Something like Harry Potter is not intended to be a trilogy.
Yeah.
So...
Because they have like 7 books.
Yeah, exactly. So that's our caveats for that. Do you have any honorable mentions?
I don't, actually. But I do have stuff that like doubled up on a number, basically because they had the same score.
Okay, well, I guess I'm alone here on honorable mentions.
Oh, okay.
Okay, first one is the Captain America trilogy. This one was a weird one. I put it in honorable mentions because with that trilogy, you do have to watch other films like Avengers 2. You have to watch Age of Ultron to really understand Civil War, you know, in a lot of aspects, because Vision's introduced in Age of Ultron. And so if you watch Captain America 1, 2, and then 3... It's like, wait, who is this robot guy all of a sudden? Who is this witch all of a sudden?
And those characters are defining characters in Civil War. So
it's essential. It's not as much of a standalone trilogy as some of these other ones. That's why I put it in honorable mentions. But I will say the reason I also put this in honorable mentions is because I feel like in the Marvel Universe, there's only 3 characters who have had trilogies, which is Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. I feel like Captain America is the only character out of those 3 whose each installment has gotten better with each one.
And that's the way it should be.
Exactly. So Thor had a big dip in the second one, and then Iron Man also had a slight dip with the second one, and then a big dip with the third one, so, in my opinion. So that's my first honorable mention. My next honorable mention is the X-Men trilogy. I know a lot of people hate that third one. I love that third one. I know we've talked about that before. Yep. I really love that trilogy. The Dollars trilogy is an honorable mention for me. Okay. It's a great trilogy.
It's a bit surprising to me, but okay.
Why? That it's an honorable mention?
Yeah, that's an honorable mention.
Yeah, I know. I like it because there's no real thematic through line throughout the trilogy. It's kind of like almost an anthology in a way. It's based on the same characters, the same guy.
Yeah.
But they're different stories, I guess.
So it's riding that fine line between like trilogy and spiritual trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. It rode that line. That's why I put it in honorable mentions. And but they're all amazing.
So would you put it in spiritual ones as well?
I think I would. I would probably put it in a spiritual trilogy. In all honesty.
So then I kind of feel like it's going to be middle of the road for both of them.
That's true.
And
It's kind
really
of in that
giving
gray
it
area.
Justice as much as it should be.
I know, because it's such a good trilogy. It's one of the best trilogies ever. But it's in that gray area of like, I don't know. Is it a trilogy or is it kind of more standalone?
I mean, it's a tough one to talk about.
It is. But overall, great film. Fistful of Dollars for a few dollars more, and Good Ben the Ugly. For those of you who don't know.
And they don't go in order.
No, they don't. Yeah. So, that's Clint Eastwood's Western Man with No Name trilogy, for those of you who don't know. Next honorable mention is Evil Dead trilogy. I just put it in there because it's a fun little horror trilogy. I like the second one and the third one.
I've never seen the third one.
Army of Darkness. It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
I gotta watch it.
And the first one is a little bit of all three of those films are very different from each other, but they do have a through line, especially with the second one, because the second one ends with him waking up in the medieval times or whatever. So, and then that's what Army of Darkness is about. So, there you go. I really liked Evil Dead. And my last honorable mention is Toy Story, the Toy Story trilogy. I really like those
films. Son
of
a bitch.
Yeah, I really love those films.
They should have been on there.
I really love those films. Every film of that has been great. As a matter of fact, in that trilogy, every film has gotten better for me. I liked 2 more than 1 and 3 more than 2, so there you go.
I'm going to add this up real quick.
All right, then. Do it. So yeah, Toy Story is definitely on my honorable mentions. I don't know why it's on my... I don't know why it wouldn't be in my top 5. I guess it just narrowly missed out on some of the better trilogies. Okay. I actually got some maybe controversial ones in here, considering that some of the installments in my trilogies, are kind of known to not be up to par with, the first 2 installments or the first and the third one, maybe even.
Okay.
Who knows?
Yeah. You go with your heart.
I'm going with my heart.
I love it.
All right, you what's your number 5?
My number 5 is a tie, coming in at the score of 27.25.
Mm-hmm.
The Godfather and the Back to the Future trilogy.
There you go. Okay.
The Godfather, for this list, I have been putting it off forever. I just watched the third one.
Yep.
And it was pretty good. That's honestly the worst one by a mile.
It is the worst one, but even though it's the worst one, it's not like a bad film.
It's not a bad film. It definitely
just made disappointing
relives
decisions.
Its past. It's a very nostalgic film, and I kind of feel like that's important for Francis Ford Coppola because he was going through a rough patch, or he was about to start going through a rough patch of filmmaking.
Yeah.
This is easily like the worst looking film, visually. I mean, it still has the same sepia tone or what look to it.
Yeah, it has that same orangish tealish.
Yeah,
not teal,
it's still
but
got the same
look.
aesthetic. It still has the same the themes music wise and stuff like that. It's just
some of the acting
doesn't really his characters don't really carve their own fate. They just kind of relive in the past. They're always talking about stuff that happened in the past and kind of trying to get over those things.
Yeah. A lot of people are always like, oh, The Godfather is the prime example of the third one never working and the third one always sucking. But, I think if you really look at the third one, it's not as bad as people say. It's just when compared to Godfather and Godfather Part 2.
Exactly what it is.
It's a huge step down. It doesn't hold a candle to them. But honestly, it's not that bad of a film.
Though that movie...
The acting, though, is pretty bad in some parts.
Yep. You were right.
Yeah.
Sofia Coppola is such a bad actress.
She is.
Okay, and I gotta say that the ending of this movie was half genius, half garbage.
Yeah.
I was so frustrated with the way it ended. I was almost
kind
confused.
of abrupt.
It was so abrupt. It was a 30-second final cut, final
it was
scene.
It was this happens and you're like, wow, but then it fades to this other thing and then boom, done. It's like, oh, okay.
It's like, oh, come on, man, really? It's just so weird.
Yeah. Sofia Coppola, great director, don't get me wrong, but as an actress, ooh, that was bad.
So for those movies, obviously, for me, Godfather is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's a huge deal for me, getting into film and stuff like that. Same with the second one. They're both 10s to me. Yeah. And this is the only one that drags it down with a low 7.
Oh, wow.
And for Back to the Future, I love all the Back to the Future.
Oh, they're great.
They're great. The first one comes in, and it probably deserves the 10, but it comes in at a high 9 for me. It's almost
a high 9. You should almost just put it as a 10.
I need to rewatch it again. Yeah. Honestly, some of these movies I just need to rewatch. But for the other ones after that, they come in at high 8s. I used to love, and honestly, it was the first one that I saw. The first one I saw was the second one.
Okay. Yeah.
When I was a kid, and I really love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I mean, it gets a bit convoluted in areas.
Yeah.
And same thing with the third one, except for the third one, I really like the direction with it. I really like the Western atmosphere.
Me too.
And it's like a comedic Western.
Yeah.
I really dig that. I think that one doesn't get enough love.
It doesn't.
It does.
It really doesn't. That's a lot of people's least favorite. You know what's weird? Is that critically, the first one and third one are the best received, and the middle portion was still, people liked it, but they said it was the worst of the trilogy. But weirdly enough, in today's world, for some reason, people like millennials really gravitate toward the second one a lot.
It's because we just hit that year, and we're always like, oh, we didn't even get hoverboards or anything like that. I'm going to turn on the light.
Yeah, go ahead. Turn it on. Yeah, so a lot of people gravitate toward the second one now, and I have a friend that's one of his favorite movie series of all time. He loves the first two, and he said the third one's not good. And I'm like, dude, the third one's great, though.
One's great. The thing is, you have to like Westerns. It's a different atmosphere.
It is a different atmosphere. They changed it up, but that's what I appreciated about it. But I don't want to talk about that too much for some reason. For a reason.
27.25 on both of those. Great scores. What is your number 5?
My number 5 is the Spider-Man trilogy.
Okay.
By Sam Raimi.
Yep.
I know the third one, again, I've defended the third one so much, so I'm not going to speak too much on it. But the consistency, again, is amazing. If you want to be consistent, that's great. But, the second one of this trilogy is amazing, and it blows the other two out of the water, even though the first one also is so good, dude. There's so much heart in this trilogy, and there's so much themes that Sam Raimi put in there. The first one is about acceptance. The second one, what was the second one about? No, the second one is about acceptance, and the third one is about forgiveness. Something like that. I couldn't look it up, but I know that the third one had a huge theme of forgiveness.
Yeah.
And then the second one was acceptance.
It shows that we didn't put a ton of time into this. We were actually watching a specific trilogy for this list, and it turned out it's not even going to be on this list because it's a spiritual trilogy, which we're going to do another list of that at some point in time.
Yes. So I'm not going too in depth with most of these, especially because I've talked to death about my love for the Spider-Man films, Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. So I'm honestly just going to leave it at that. Sam Raimi's a genius, and these films are genius. A lot of people don't like the third one. I think people are way too harsh on that third one. The third one's not even the worst Spider-Man film ever made. I think the third one is better than both Amazing Spider-Man films, with Andrew Garfield. And it's honestly
understandable.
It's a different kind of conclusion to the series as a whole, to the trilogy. It's not as triumphant with Spider-Man swinging or whatever, but it's very thematic.
It doesn't even really have a wrap up.
No, but
it kind of just ends.
It ends, but it ends in a thematic sense because
it does.
Because I think it was in the first or second one where Mary Jane said, "I want to sing on stage with you in the front row." And throughout the series, the second one and the third one, Peter has always had a hard time with that, balancing it and stuff like that. And then the third one literally ends with her singing on stage with him in the front row, even though it's a dive bar instead of a Broadway stage,
Yeah.
So it's kind of bittersweet. It really is a bittersweet ending.
The way it ends, they there's a sever between them anyway. She got what she wanted, but also there's distance between them now at this point.
Yeah, so now they have to work.
They have to rebuild their relationship.
You got to rebuild it, and it ends. It doesn't show that. That's very risky. I thought that was very brave of them to end it that way.
It did not finish. There's still fate to be to be shown and stuff like that. So that's why I said it doesn't really have an exact ending or whatever, a wrap up.
Right. But overall, I love all three of these films, so that's my number 5.
Yeah, I get that, man. I get that.
What's your number 4?
Number 4.
For show.
Coming in at a flat 28.
Okay.
Indiana Jones.
Ooh, nice.
Raiders, 10. I love that movie. I think it's the best action movie of all time. There's so much to it. It's so lighthearted. It's so funny. It's so good.
Can I just stop you right here so we can talk about it? My number 4 is Indiana Jones as well.
Great.
So we can just talk about it.
Yeah. So let's double up on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just Raiders is it's fantastic.
So
Roger
good.
Ebert put it as I think he said it's his favorite action movie of all time too.
Mm-hmm.
I totally get it.
I love the callbacks to old 1930s B series serials. You know what I mean? These serial adventure serials.
Oh, where he would travel from place to place.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of callbacks to that. This film really reinvented the adventure genre. You know,
it did.
Yeah,
it did.
It was so good, and the techniques that Spielberg used to reveal certain characters, the fact that this has been commented on so many times, but when Indiana Jones was first revealed in Raiders, they did it in such a creative way where they always framed him from behind and they kept it mysterious.
Best first impression
ever.
I think besides maybe Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Yes.
So good. It throws you in, but you're captivated from the moment that film starts.
Oh, it's so fucking masculine, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so good.
Badass.
So good. Raiders is
and it's the perfect level of intellect and masculinity between this man. This man is perfect.
Yes, he's not super macho, but he's macho enough to be he's still vulnerable. Is what I'm trying to say.
He's not like a Mary Sue.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so he's fantastic as a character, and I think it really shows the best in that specific entry. I think it's my favorite Spielberg movie of all time. I love.
Hey, I could see it.
I could watch that movie anytime.
It's so good.
Any time of the week.
So let's talk about the dip that people say, which is its prequel, even though it came out afterwards. Temple of Doom. I think Temple of Doom gets too much hate. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Okay, I really like Temple of Doom. Don't get me wrong. I have it at a high 8. Mm-hmm. But
it doesn't hold a candle.
The fucking woman in that movie, she's the worst.
She is the worst.
She's if she was a scream queen, she would have been
amazing. But
the worst scream queen.
Yeah. No, she spends 90% of that movie screaming, whining and screaming. She is a little unbearable.
Yeah, and it's why, Indy? Why are you going for her?
Yeah, come on, man.
Come on.
She's a lounge singer, man.
I really like...
Because Miriam was amazing.
The introduction to this film, though. I really like the introduction. It takes a bit of a dip in the pacing through the middle portion of it before they get to the temple. But I love the Broadway, musical moment in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Oh, so cool.
That was such a good scene.
Such a good scene. And there's so much going on.
And
with it.
There's a lot memorable about it too, Kalima. Everyone still quotes that. As much as people don't like Temple of Doom, everyone always quotes that. You know.
Oh yeah.
Kalima.
When he pulls
out the heart.
Man, that's so cool.
This film, by the way, was basically responsible for creating the PG-13 rating. Did you know that?
I did
Temple
hear
of Doom,
that. Yeah.
Because it was so much in the middle ground. People were like, what do we do about this? It was PG, but so many parents complained. They're like, our kids can't see this, whatever. And then they created that middle ground with PG-13. And then here's a little trivia fact for you. The first movie to ever come out with the PG-13 rating in theaters officially was The Flamingo Kid.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't know what it is either, but I know it's the first PG-13 movie ever released.
Flamingo Kid.
Yeah.
You've carved your place into
film history,
the fabric of film.
Yes, which is strange because that's the only reason I know that movie. I don't even know what it's about. That movie.
So yeah, I think it's a great entry. Don't get me wrong, it's a great entry.
It is. It's kind of strange though that they did go the prequel route though. They made it a prequel. Do you think that's kind of strange or it's very? I guess it makes it more standalone. But
okay, yeah.
But I don't know. It's.
I think out of all of them, that's the most interesting place out of all of them is the Temple of Doom. It has a fascinating world.
Exactly, and it tried to do it did something different.
Underbelly of slave trade or whatever. It's crazy.
It did something different than the other two films did. The other two films sort of went back, or especially the third film rather, went back to that formula of the Nazi Germany thing with the Nazis and stuff like that. This one had a different section, a different villain group and a different atmosphere in a sense, Mm-hmm. But it was, I still think Temple of Doom gets a little too much hate.
And I love the Last
Crusade, yeah.
I really do. I need to rewatch it.
Me too. I haven't seen that in forever.
It was our second trilogy that we did when we started the whole December trilogy, so it's been about 7 years maybe.
Yeah.
But I always thought it was my favorite, or my second favorite of them.
Yeah.
I love that one.
Oh, it's great. And Sean Connery in that film is amazing.
It has one of the best, besides the first one, I think it has the, oh man, it's so hard to decide between Temple of Doom and that one for best intro. I really like the backstory one where how he got the hat. That's a good intro.
And he even got the scar on his chin from his whip.
Yeah, he got the whip.
Yeah.
For the first time, you get to see everything, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that was so great.
That one
he freaking fell into the pile of snakes, and he's like, oh!
And it didn't feel like it was. It had to shoehorn it all in. It was just a perfect scenario of how to have all of it in there. Okay, maybe it did feel like a little bit shoehorned, but it's
great.
It's so fun and playful. It's so great.
Young Indiana Jones, man. I'm telling you.
Not the show, though.
Not
the show.
No, I've never seen that show, honestly. I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
So, yeah.
And also, just to like go back to what we said before we even started this list, this series does have a fourth movie. But, again, that movie you can almost ignore and watch this as a trilogy.
It came out like 20 years afterwards.
Exactly. So you can view this as a trilogy. So for those of you who are like, oh, but Indiana Jones is a quadrilogy, it's not a trilogy. It's like...
It wasn't intended to be anything more than a trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. And the fourth one is so disconnected, it's crazy. You know, you can watch the fourth one just on its own, or you can just disassociate it with the trilogy altogether, and it wouldn't change anything.
There's something about these ones where it could come off as like sci-fi, but it's like embedded in like biblical.
Yeah.
Yes. So it almost becomes like fantasy in a way, but that one is super
that was
sci-fi.
So sci-fi. It went way too sci-fi, and that's the thing. It went sci-fi to the film's detriment.
Yeah,
you know,
to a negative level.
Yeah, it was like, okay, I can't buy this anymore because. With the Indiana Jones film, there's always that supernatural element and like the fantasy element and biblical side.
I guess
it's mostly biblical.
Supernatural would have been a better word for it.
Yeah, but no, I mean, well, the first one and the third one are biblical.
Yeah.
You know, but to go straight up sci-fi and be like, oh no, there's aliens now is like, no.
That ruins just everything about if they were to do. More movies. The back of your mind, you're going to be thinking, oh my god, there's aliens here too. Like, you can expect to see them at some point or whatever.
And I'm going to say this, Spielberg, I know you're listening right now. I know you're our biggest fan.
Yep.
Please don't do a fifth one. I know there's talk of you wanting to do a fifth one. Please don't. Please, just don't.
Even if you want to, like, try to...
make amends for the fourth one.
Yeah. Fix the blemishes. Don't try.
Yeah, because sometimes when you try and fix the blemishes, you just make it worse, you know?
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've mentioned it to you before on the podcast, but have you seen the behind the scenes of Indiana Jones 4 where they're interviewing Spielberg? And you could tell Spielberg never even wanted to do it.
Yeah, that's right. You did tell me that.
He was basically just pressured into it by George Lucas. Yeah. George Lucas wanted to call this, and I don't know if he was joking because he was so deadpan while saying it, but he said, I originally wanted to call it Indiana Jones and the Saucer Men. That was my thing, but Stephen was very much didn't want to do that, and I was like, he was very serious when he said that. He was very.
That's real bad.
Yeah, dude, you should watch this. We should watch this afterwards.
Holy shit, that's a terrible name.
It is so bad. We should watch this after this podcast because it's kind of fascinating.
Oh, I see a documentary in the near future.
Yeah, for real. I mean, this basically was a documentary. Indiana Jones and the Saucer Man. I was like, oh my god, no. Okay,
it's the new B movie entry.
Yeah, for real. They Indiana Jones was a huge tribute to old B movies. Crystal Skull fucking took it way too far back to the B movies. They took it way too far back to the B films. It's like, I get what they were doing. They wanted to pay tribute to old sci-fi B movies.
Yeah.
But please, no. No, it came from outer space and, like, you know, The Day the Earth Stood Still. Don't. No, please don't.
Day the Earth Stood Still, that's a great movie.
It is a great movie. That's actually a B movie that kind of turned into, like, an A movie.
An A movie.
Yeah.
So, is that all you got to say?
That's all I got to say about Indiana Jones,
All right, so now technically it'd be my number 3, right? Because you did your number 4 too.
Yes.
Coming in at number 3.
Trace.
It's a tie.
Okay.
Between the scores, 28.25, so just barely over Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
The Before trilogy and the Dark Knight trilogy and the Toy Story trilogy. I forgot about that.
Damn, dude.
Because you just reminded me of
it. Yeah. The reason, by the way, I did not put the Before trilogy on this is because I haven't seen all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I've only seen The first one.
First one.
Yeah, so I saw parts of the third one.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't see the second one at all. So that's the reason I didn't put the before trilogy on here.
So then I'll just talk about...
sorry, but Dark Knight Rises for me, I love the first two. I didn't like the third one. That's why I didn't put it on there.
Let me get into that.
Yeah, go step by step.
Before trilogy. Sunset. Solid 9. Mm-hmm. Solid 9. It's a one night event for these two people, like on a date essentially. Mm-hmm. It does feel like it wraps up like 3 weeks worth of content of a date into that one night. They even start to get like into these are the things that I don't like about you and stuff. It's like it pushes too much into it. Yeah. But I get what it's trying to do. It's like the one night that really changes your perspective of love. It's like the honeymoon phase. Yeah. Really. That's what that entry is, and it's fantastic. I love that entry. The second entry, Sunrise, has a very abrupt ending for a movie trilogy that you know that you're gonna wait an additional 10 years to see the rest of it, and you don't really know what's going to happen with them, and that's kind of the frustrating part about this one. It's the thing that kind of negates a lot of the progress that it made, because it's a really good entry. It's like the rekindling of a relationship. Right. That's what that part is. And then my favorite one, Midnight, is a 10. I love this movie. Yeah. It's not at all what I was expecting before I went into it. I thought this was going to be the one where it's like, well, you got what you wanted, and this is like the settling down. You could still find happiness in the later portion of your life and stuff like that. But it's really like the thrill of the chase is what this one is. It's very different than what I had anticipated. And it really identifies like the fact that all this work that you put into 20 plus years of work trying to build up a relationship, it can ruin in just one like argument. Damn. And it's like, I'm not spoiling the movie by any means. This is not like how it ends. It's just identifying that one moment. And it takes like 40 minutes to go real deep into that one conversation. Damn. And it's fucking amazing. This movie, you have to see that movie, if any of them. Richard Linklater is really good at creating real relationships between the actors. Like, believable relationships on film. These two actors... I mean, obviously he's really good friends with Ethan Hawke now, but when he was hiring them, or like looking for them, casting them, he wasn't sure about either one of them until both of them got into the same room together and started having a conversation, and sparks started flying. He's like, I need to put these two together in this film. So it's like, sometimes it works out like that. It's like, okay, they're good actors, don't get me wrong, but like, you have to have a good relationship between the two. Yeah, you do. It really helps. You do. So for that, so Sunset, solid 9, high 8 for Sunrise, and a 10 for Midnight. Mm-hmm. And then Dark Knight, Batman Begins, solid 8. I honestly think it's the worst one. That's crazy, because I think it's the best one. Yeah, that's not. And it's the best. It's the best Batman origin story ever told. That's fair, but I mean, how often have they gotten it right in movies? Oh well, they got it right with. The one with 89 Batman with Michael Keaton, Tim Burton did, but I thought this film did it better because it dived so deep into it. It dived into the psychology of Batman more than, well, maybe not more than The Dark Knight, because The Dark Knight really went into it with like the Joker and like how that's the foil, the antithesis of, Batman. But they did a real bold move in Batman Begins, kind of making the villain out to be like this twist, and it's like you wasted a lot of potential, like building this character up, just for that one big reveal. See, I don't know. I kind of knew that he was the villain, though. I knew that because the movie had already come out, and that people had been talking about it for like a year before I saw it. Right. Plus, if you're a comic fan and you know what Ra's al Ghul looks like, you're like, okay, yeah, that's Ra's al Ghul. So I don't think that ruined it for me. I like the whole League of Shadows thing, and they obviously grounded Batman a lot, because Ra's al Ghul in the comics is like a mystical character. He's immortal, like he lives forever. And that's what we talked about, how they wanted to make like real life villains. Yeah. Instead of having like Killer Croc or something like that. Yeah, exactly. And Scarecrow I thought was dope. I loved Scarecrow was pretty cool. I really love Cillian Murphy. He went out like a bitch. But I mean, that's not the first time that it's happened. No. Or that is the first time that it's happened, but it has happened again. Yeah. In the third one. And The Dark Knight's great. Joker is really, he steals that movie. It's more of a Joker film than a Batman film, in all honesty. That's kind of why I like it, though.
No,
you gotta get like this is a prime example of like getting the villains right. Can make the film immensely better.
See, that's why it kind of disappointed me with Dark Knight Rises, because I feel like with The Dark Knight being such a Joker-focused film, I feel like, okay, now it was time to go back, round it out to like be a Batman film again, but Batman's gone for like 80% of that film. You know?
For me, Bane was a great villain. And the way that they dealt with they used him to kind of restructure superhero films, and they kind of did it again with like Black Panther. It's like halfway through the movie, the villain wins.
Yeah,
the villain gets what they want, and it wants, and it's kind of like a big deal. It shifts everything.
Yeah,
and in my opinion, to a positive level, I will defend the shit out of fucking Dark Knight Rises.
I didn't like Bane personally. I just did not. I don't know.
I still quote Bane. I know every single line that man says.
I never thought he was that threatening, in all honesty. Oh, you're a child.
He's just a better version of Batman. He's just a stronger version of Batman.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I just never...
And no one was able to threaten him before because no one could topple him physically.
Yeah.
The only Joker can outsmart him, which makes for a better film, in my opinion.
Yeah.
A more interesting
film.
film.
Have you read the novelization of Dark Knight Rises? Apparently, Joker's the only one Bane chose to lock up in Arkham Asylum, apparently.
Because he was afraid of him.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
But they actually intended for, if Heath Ledger didn't pass away, they intended for him to be in it.
Yeah.
And stuff.
That would have been great.
Would have been like interesting.
Yeah, I would love. It would almost be like a gang war situation, or like a struggle for the power sort of thing.
I think he would have just sat back and watched.
You think so?
Watch
the chaos unfold?
Because this is exactly what he prophesized.
I mean, Scarecrow was in it.
Yeah,
for
and
like
he was an interesting character, too. The judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of strange. You got the sense that, like, wow, like, all of these insane people are running the city now. And it's scary.
And there's nothing Batman could have done about it. It was such a cool storyline for him.
Yeah, I just he had basically had to like get out of the pit, which I thought was a pretty interesting story arc. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't seen that film in so long, so I'm trying to remember what I didn't like about it, but I honestly can't because
it's fine. It's fine.
You know what I didn't like? Talayla al Ghul. I thought
Talia
al Ghul. Yeah, I thought it was like I don't know. I didn't enjoy that aspect of it that much, and her death scene was laughable. It was really bad.
I can't even remember it.
Yeah, her death scene has almost become a meme now because of how bad it was. She was like, "You will never stop it." Like it was like really bad, like just the way it was. You know,
I don't really remember it. Like I said, I want to rewatch it, but I have seen that movie. I saw it 3 times in theaters, and I've seen it a bunch every time.
I remember always being on the edge of my seat. Like I remember seeing it in theaters, and the first thing I said when I walked out was, "Wow, that was an intense movie." You know, it was intense.
It was intense.
You know?
For ratings for that, Batman Begins, solid 8. Dark Knight 10.
Damn,
of course it is. And then Dark Knight Rises is a high 9 to me, man.
Damn, high 9?
It's a high 9. I will defend the shit out of that movie.
Shit, dude.
I want to rewatch it just so I can talk about it in like excruciating detail, and I kind of want to watch it with you because I want to know what you think is a negative about the movie, and I want to tell you what I think is a positive about the movie.
I just remember some things being goofy. Like I thought Bane's voice was a little goofy. I thought some of just Bane in general was goofy. Robin John Blake I thought was kind of dumb at the very end.
That's fair. It's frustrating, but it's not like a.
I saw that coming too.
It's not a plot hole. But a lot of people say use the word plot hole for that film a lot, and it's like there's plenty of moments when they
I don't think it's a plot hole. I just think it was just dumb.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But a lot of people say like, what's for example, what's a big one?
Like a plot hole that's not really a plot hole?
Oh, yeah. This is a plot hole. They led all these men into, like, all the police officers into the
one location.
And it's not a flaw with the film. It's a flaw with the character because that police chief was trying to, like, show his power over Gordon. So in order to do that, he made a fatal flaw.
Right. Yeah, that didn't bother me too much. One thing I did was I thought Anne Hathaway was really miscast as Catwoman. Okay. Personally, I thought I didn't find her to be Catwoman. I didn't find her very threatening because Catwoman in the comics she uses like her sexuality to like to her advantage, and like she's kind of threatening and intimidating at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, she's always kind of like playing her own little game. And they kind of touched on that in Dark Knight Rises, if I remember correctly, but I don't think they utilized it very well. And I thought the romance between Batman and Catwoman kind of came out of nowhere. She just kisses him. And I'm like, oh, okay. I do like the ending, though. The ending shot in the cafe.
Oh, so good.
A lot of people try to associate that with, like, Inception. Like, oh, is he really seeing that? Yes, he is. Because even Christian Bale came out and said, or was it Christopher Nolan? It was Christian Bale or Christopher Nolan. One of them came out and said, look, like, Inception, yeah, it ended that way, but not every film of mine or every film of Christopher Nolan's is going to end that way, like the ambiguous ending.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is not Inception. That was not ambiguous. Like, that's, you know, he's seeing them. So, and plus, why would Alfred imagine Bruce Wayne with Catwoman? That would be a weird thing to imagine.
Does he even know her? Really?
No, he doesn't.
Yeah,
he doesn't even know her. So why would he imagine? Why would he like imagine Bruce Wayne with Catwoman? It wouldn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's like
people don't think They don't think.
They don't think.
And since you brought it up, Toy Story would have been on there.
Yeah, Toy Story's great.
I messed it up.
Toy Story's so good.
I messed up. Although, unlike a lot of people, I think the worst one is the third one.
Mm-hmm. I think they're all very equal in quality, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I don't even think there is a worst one, to be honest with you.
My favorite one's the first one because it was the first movie that I fell in love with. I guess if I had to say, as a kid, that was the one that I watched the most out of any animated film.
I could probably see that. I used to collect. I remember having Buzz and Woody toys.
Oh really?
Stuff like that.
I did too.
Yeah, it was so great.
Good stuff.
Yes, my number 3, right, is what?
Yeah, number 3
is Godfather, the Godfather trilogy.
Okay.
We talked about it, so I don't know what to say.
I'm sure we agree on most of it.
We agreed on all of it, really.
Yeah, all of it.
I actually started with the second one, which is strange, but it's kind of a prequel, so I guess it kind of makes sense.
It's a prequel, half
sequel, which is really revolutionary for its time. I was actually in a car with my friend Nick recently, and he was like, "See The Godfather?" I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Why is Godfather considered so good? I don't get it." And I had to go on this thing. I'm like, because it revolutionized filmmaking and storytelling, and it was the sequel was the first one to really do a prequel-sequel storyline, in general. Plus the performances are freaking amazing, legendary. And also he's Italian too, or part Italian. So I was like, and you're Italian, right? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, it's huge in the Italian culture. It's a giant in that, you know? It's a huge love letter to the Italian culture. And and it's a crime. It's a crime drama that's so enticing.
It was so profound for its time. It was such a big step for violence and stuff, but violence with a meaning behind it.
Yeah,
a balance between
it was never
business
gratuitous
and family.
It was never gratuitous.
Yes,
and it progressed the story. So yeah, great series. The third one is a dip, but I don't think the third one is as bad as everyone says. The only reason people think it's as bad as they think it is because you're comparing it to the first two, which are, again, some of the best films ever made. Both those films won freaking Oscars. I think, is Godfather Part 2 the only sequel to ever win an Oscar?
That's an interesting question.
I don't even know. Or Best Picture, at least.
You're saying Best Picture?
Yeah, Best Picture, yeah.
It's gotta be.
I think it is.
Yeah.
So, it's the only sequel to ever win Best Picture. Not nominated, obviously, but
yeah, because Lord of the Rings, the second one was nominated.
Yeah, that's true. Lord of the Wings. Yeah, Lord of the Wings.
Lord of the Wings.
Lord of the Wings. The third one did win, so I guess that's a sequel. So yeah, maybe it's not the only sequel, but it was. It's got to be the first.
And that swept too.
It really did.
Got was it 13?
13 wins.
Wins.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, that's all I got to say about it. We talked about it to death, so.
Ready for my number 2?
Yeah.
Coming in at a solid 29.
Okay.
Solid 29.
Uh-huh.
Star Wars and Lord of the Rings.
Nice. That's a good
pairing.
Pairing, yeah.
Yeah, it's two opposite ends of the spectrum. Fantasy and sci-fi, which kind of go together because they're both kind of inaccessible.
Yeah.
For certain people, obviously it's the original trilogy. So New Hope has always been my favorite.
New Hope is great.
New Hope is what started it all. Every single innovation that the films had was because of that film, and that's why I love it so much.
See, I love New Hope. I do. I think it's 5 out of 5. But I do think Empire's better, slightly.
Empire is a better written movie. Mm-hmm. But I can never just watch that movie and just be done with it. I can't just I'm just going to jump into the fifth one.
Right,
and just end it there. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, I got to watch the next one too.
Yeah, for sure.
You pretty much just have to make a day of Star Wars. It's just hard to just watch this one.
Yeah. What can you say about Star Wars? It's amazing.
It created geekdom.
It really did.
It did.
It revolutionized sci-fi. That started the whole turning of the tide to where sci-fi was like, oh wow, sci-fi is more than just B-movie garbage.
Which is kind of interesting that I even said fantasy and sci-fi, because even though it's a sci-fi setting, it's so there's
a fantasy element to it.
Yeah, like the Force and everything. The Force is a magic system.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
So it kind of don't even know why I said that.
Freaking Alec Guinness. First of all, Star Wars was nominated for Best Picture when it came out, and then it lost to Annie Hall. But Alec Guinness was also nominated for Best Actor as Obi-Wan, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's... Was it?
Yeah, I'm almost certain he was.
I'm gonna look it up.
Look it up. But yeah, Star Wars is amazing. A lot of people are not as fond as Return of the Jedi, but I think Return of the Jedi was a really good closure to the series, in all honesty. That fight scene at the end with Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker is still my favorite fight scene of the original trilogy.
It's the most poetic. I think the ending of it is the most poetic. But that fourth, the Empire Strikes Back, it's like a show of force, and pun intended, a show of force, everything that they can do.
Yeah.
And it's like you get to see the huge gap between the level of experience as a fighter.
Yeah. No, it's really good. I don't know what to say about Star Wars, man. What can you say that hasn't already been said?
Okay, so I have to do it a weird way.
What are you doing?
Because I'm trying to figure out which... Because I'm not just going to type in 1977, because I know it's going to probably show up as 1978, so I'm trying to... I know how to do this. I'm a legend. I'm the best.
Well, I just looked it up.
Leads.
Alec Guinness nomination.
That's all you did?
That's all I did, and then it lists them, dude. It lists them.
Oh, I'm dumb, dude. Don't list... I'm dumb.
Yeah, dude. Freaking Star Wars episode. Yes.
Oh yeah, he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Okay.
Best Supporting Actor for A New Hope.
Yep.
And Little Dorrit.
That's fair.
Yeah, you were overthinking it a little bit there, buddy.
Yeah, you know what? I accept it. I accept it.
Literally, Alec Guinness nomination. Oh, fantastic.
So, Star Wars comes in... Oh, dude, you're going to hate me for this. You're going to hate my guts.
Why?
Because I gave 4 and 5 a high 9. I haven't given them a 10 yet.
Really?
I need to... not even that. I need to rewatch them. Mm-hmm. They're deserving of it. They probably deserve... They honestly deserve it.
Oh, and by the way, we should mention this because, a lot of millennials might not know this. When Star Wars came out, it was not called Episode 4, A New Hope. It was just called Star Wars.
Yep.
These were it was meant to be a trilogy. And then when the 80s came around with the re-release and the remasters or whatever, that's when George Lucas was like, oh no, but we're going to slap Episode 4 on here.
And then he waited an additional 15 years to even do the
prequels, yeah. So, yeah, 4, 5, and 6 are technically 1, 2, and 3. So that is the original Star Wars trilogy, and it's the best trilogy. I mean, they haven't closed the new trilogy yet, but it's definitely better than the prequels. That's for sure. Because Irvin Kershner, who directed Empire Strikes Back, man, he brought his own voice to that film, and I think it really shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess the last one. What is it? Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi, yeah.
That would be a low 9 for me.
Okay, yeah. So high 9s and then low 9, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
But this is why I was saying that.
Because
Fellowship of the Ring is a 10 for me.
Yeah. Okay.
I love Fellowship of the Ring. It is a perfect fantasy story where Star Wars is a very default fantasy story. It's every single character is at its most basic form, exactly what you would expect if you were to read a fantasy story. Mm-hmm. It's a lot different for Fellowship of the Ring. Every character is a little bit different. And if this was like a D&D campaign, everybody has their type of class or whatever.
Yeah.
But the protagonist of the story is not your typical protagonist in any way. Mm-hmm. It's like a escort mission.
Yeah.
essentially, and he can't, there's nothing that he can do about it. This isn't like a tale of him growing to be what he like a knight or something like that. He just has one specific goal, and basically everything in the story is like him discovering these other characters, the weakness in man when it comes to this power just dangling in their face, and his power is really just bonding with people. That's what he does when he meets like Bedemir and stuff like that. Like he's just a people person. Cool. Frodo, I'm referring to. I love that movie. I love the way that specific entry shifts. I love the ending that every character has like divided. So now everyone has their own storyline. They all have their own motive. They all have the same end goal. Yeah. But they all go about it in like a different way or whatever. And Frodo disconnects himself with everybody else because he fears that everybody else will be like Boromir. Okay. And try to come after him. It's kind of a weird way to explain it. I don't care. Fellowship of the Ring is fantastic. Two Towers is at a low 9. For me, the one storyline of Pip and Merry is just kind of lackluster in that movie.
Yeah, I hear that.
It drags the pace.
That's what people say. They say the second's the worst, quote unquote, worst one. You know?
I mean, I don't know.
Which I say worst, not because for lack of a better word. Yeah. You know, it's just...
And then the last one is a high 9 because everything about it is fantastic. There's two major, like, army scenes. There's just two major battle sequences, and they're fantastic. Like, wow, like the design of them, the technical proficiency of the special effects and everything like that is just amazing. It's honestly just a lack of substance for like the majority of that film. They do the bulk of it in the last couple films, so there's a severe lack of it. It does have a very emotionally impactful ending. I cry every time I see it, so it probably deserves the 10 again. I keep saying that. It's like a famous quote of mine, but I'm not one of those people that are just going to give it because I think that it deserves it. I need to rewatch the movie. Yeah, for sure. Give it its due. Do you?
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. Do you like the Hobbit trilogy?
Not really.
Not really? Okay.
They're just okay.
Yeah, they're very like kind of...
I do like Desolation of Smaug though. That one it leaned into its cartooniness.
I can't... See, the thing is that when I think about those movies, they're just one big movie to me. I can't differentiate
Well, it's
them.
one big book.
Yeah, I cannot differentiate the difference between any of them. I think I remember Luke Evans appearing out of nowhere in the third one, I think.
Something like that. And I think he was, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, well...
He's one of the leaders of the army, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I enjoyed The Hobbit, but yeah, Lord of the Rings, have I told you I've never seen, like, some of them? I've never seen Two Towers.
Really?
Yeah. Or Return of the King, really.
It shouldn't be overlooked, though. Honestly, I love that movie.
Yeah,
Two Towers is great.
That's one of my... Everyone's like, what's the movie you're ashamed of never seeing? It's those films, Lord of the Rings.
You would have asked me like 2 years ago, like, that list would have been crazy. Actually, that's a list idea.
There you go. Films we're ashamed of never...
Films we're ashamed of never seen.
We've never seen. Okay, are we good for my number 2?
Hit me.
Well, I can't elaborate. By the way, a lot of these we knew going in that we were going to have the same ones. I think we've all had these same ones. The only wild card I had was Spider-Man. Back to the Future is my number 2.
Okay. I figured, the smile on your face told me, oh, it'll be on there.
Back to the Future is number 2 because, again, I feel like the consistency between each film was amazing. It like the level of quality was maintained throughout this trilogy more than most trilogies. Like, where there was a noticeable dip in some of these trilogies, this is the one trilogy where I'm like, I can't see a dip. Like, I know a lot of people don't like the third one for certain reasons, and some people don't like the second one for certain reasons. I think, like, they're all just, like, great films. I think they're all, like, perfect. You know, they're all perfect. The comedy is great. The drama is great. Special effects are great. The humor is just amazing. I already said that, but I had to reiterate it because it was so good. Back to the Future, Zemeckis is probably the most underrated director of all time because this man has made some of the best films ever. Modern classics like Forrest Gump, Castaway, Back to the Future, and people don't even know his name.
Some people don't know his name because I feel like Steven Spielberg gets the credit for that movie.
Yeah, because he helped produce Back to the Future. And I think even on the poster it says like Steven Spielberg presents Back to the Future, which I get it, but at the same time I'm like, man, you got to give Zemeckis his due, because I think that's a huge misconception among normies. Is that we're like, oh, who directed Back to the Future? They're like, oh, Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, because I mean, it makes sense where they're coming from. It does have his hands all over it.
Yeah, well, even like with Nightmare Before Christmas,
his style of film. Yeah, well,
everyone thinks that's Tim Burton, but he didn't do it.
Yeah,
Henry Selick directed that.
Yeah, but again, I get where they're coming from.
Yeah, I feel so bad for Henry Selick. It's like can you imagine? Like, yeah, I directed this movie. It was like, oh, I thought Tim Burton did that. How many times do you think he's heard that in his life?
And the other thing is they probably don't even know his name. Some people don't even know who he is.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately. So yeah, I feel kind of the same thing with Zemeckis, dude. He's so good at what he does. And he revolutionized motion capture. He was the guy who did that. He was the guy who did the first motion capture movie with Polar Express.
Actually, Andy Serkis is the one who revolutionized. I'm just kidding.
The first fully...
I get it.
Yeah, you get it. You get it. So... And he really did, he kind of did, like, lean into that a little too much at that time, because he made, like, 3 of them, right? Because he did, what did he do? He did Polar Express, and then he did Beowulf, and I think he did another one, I can't remember.
Oh, I don't like Beowulf.
Christmas Carol. He did A Christmas Carol.
I forgot that movie even existed.
Yeah, he's like, he really got into that motion capture stuff for a while.
Yeah.
And then he came back with Flight, which I didn't see, but...
Oh, it's a great movie.
Yeah, so there you go.
I really like that movie.
I'm telling you, man, he's amazing.
He's good. He's good.
He's so good. He needs more recognition.
Your number 1 is Star Wars.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
What's my number 1?
What have you mentioned?
Oh, I'm not telling you.
Well,
That's how you narrow it down.
We're gonna narrow it down, dude. Your number 1 trilogy is, I know it, the Matrix trilogy. No, I don't know. Give me the first letter.
You already said it.
Indiana Jones, Godfather. Oh, I already said it?
Yeah.
The Dollars trilogy.
The Dollars trilogy.
I knew it. I knew it.
It's perfect.
It's great.
It's not exactly perfect, but it's coming in at a 29.5 with 2 high 9s and 1 10.
And the 110 is Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
It's fantastic though. I mean, they play them out of order, and there's like subtle clues to which order happens when, being the poncho in the man, or the Good, the Bad, the Ugly.
Yeah.
The poncho, which he already has in Fistful of Dollars, stuff like that. It's very subtle about that stuff. I love every little single indicator of his character. Him being an anti-hero. Most Western characters, they'll throw their lives on the line to save somebody, but that movie opens with him grabbing some water and they're bullying some kid, and he does not do anything about it because he knows it's foolish. He does end up getting revenge for them, or he ends up fucking them up later, but still, like he's not stupid in any regard. And that's I think that's a more accurate depiction of what the Western life would have been like.
Yeah.
Like any gunslinger.
I think Fistful of Dollars is one of the best opening sequence. I know we talk about Indiana Jones that as one of the best first impressions, but I think Fistful of Dollars has one of the best first impressions ever as well. When he goes up to those people harassing him in the town, he goes up to the coffin maker. He's like, "You need 4 coffins."
Yeah,
or whatever.
It's so good
because they scare his horse, and then he just hangs on the sign or whatever. That's so good, dude. It's so.
I love that. I love everything about that that movie. It's even got a really strong finale.
Yes,
I guess the finale is great.
They all have really good finales.
This movie is like a copy and paste of Yojimbo.
Yeah,
that's a great movie as well.
Mm-hmm. A lot of Westerns have samurai-esque... Because Yojimbo was a samurai movie, right? By Kurosawa?
Yep.
So
it's the same plot.
Yeah.
That's kind of why it's not a 10 for me.
That and Magnificent Seven, Seven Samurai. There's always correlations between those two, so...
They kind of go hand in hand, though. Mm-hmm. Different landscapes, same similar principles of the universe.
Basically.
So that movie is fantastic. The second one, if any of them, that deserves the rewatch the most.
Yeah, that's the one.
For a few dollars more.
For a few dollars more is the one that's kind of, I don't want to say forgettable, but it's just the one I don't remember.
It's not that I guess it kind of is forgettable in the fact that you have Lee Van Cleef playing a villain, which he will play another villain, a different one. But they focus every single ounce of energy, it seems like, for his character.
That's why I also put it as a spiritual trilogy, because I know a lot of people say this is a trilogy, but it's like, is it though? Is it a trilogy? Because or is it more of a spiritual trilogy? Because I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it might have been just like a trilogy as an afterthought, almost.
Perhaps. But the titles of the first two movies go hand in hand.
They do, so but then the second one
kind of seem that way.
Yeah,
because it's supposed to be the Once Upon a Time trilogy is like a spiritual trilogy, but I wouldn't even call it that because this is according to like Wikipedia or whatever, like trilogies. Yeah. That Once Upon a Time in the West, and then it goes to like Duck You Sucker, yeah, or Fistful of Dynamite, as it's also called. Fistful of Dynamite, yeah, that's what it is. And Once Upon a Time in America, but they don't really have anything to do with each other. And it's called the Once Upon a Time trilogy. Yeah. I haven't seen Fistful of Dynamite yet, but it's not even a Once Upon a Time movie.
I saw it. I saw it with Brian, and honestly, I hate to say this about a Sergio Leone film, I kind of forgot about it. Like the minute I saw it. I don't know why. It's just kind of forgettable for me. I don't know why. It was it wasn't like a bad film.
Well, you have all these behemoths that he's made.
Yeah, exactly. It just wasn't a very memorable...
If you see a good movie, you're going to forget about it. A good movie.
Yeah,
just a straight good movie.
Yeah, so...
and that's kind of an upsetting thing. But this movie, it didn't really progress or develop Clint Eastwood's character almost at all in this movie. No. And that's... Again, it's not a bad thing. It's an interesting take on the Western film, especially like a second entry of it. If they do all go together, but I can't really. There's nothing bad I can say about The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. It's one of my favorite movies.
Oh, it's great.
I love all three of those characters, and the standoff is like when you're building up every single character. You obviously know when seeing the movie which one you don't really cling to, and then it how that plays into the other two characters and the bond that they've kind of created is kind of interesting. I really like that character or that movie as almost a character study. Yeah, that's what Brian described it as to me. Yeah, that's what he likes about it. But it's they're all like three different people. Like obviously Clint Eastwood's character is he's an anti-hero, but he is the good. And then there's the ugly, who's he's kind of in the middle of the road. He does bad things for himself, but he doesn't mean harm on anybody. And I think that's the cool bond between the two of them. Yeah, is like kind of learning that. And then the expedition just as a whole between the two of them. Right. So good entry, fantastic entry. I literally can't say anything bad about it though.
Boom, there you go.
And do you have anything to add to Star Wars?
No, I honestly don't. Star Wars is my number one, and yep,
that's a movie.
It's a great movie. Great three movies. Yep.